Hello, and welcome to the podcast that must not be named. I'm Melissa.
I am Luke.
And we are doing our live stream of chapter number 21 in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This is chapter 21, the House Elf Liberation Front. Thank you to everybody who is joining us live on YouTube. If you are listening to this podcast on its regularly scheduled release date, just know that hopefully from now on our plan is to live stream all recordings. So feel free to join us on YouTube. Find us there, like, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we are recording. This chapter was 22 pages long, and that is exactly 3% of this book.
Following the first task, Harry heads to the Owlery, where he sends a letter to his godfather, not being able to help himself in giving a blow-by-blow account of the battle with the dragon. He, along with Ron and Hermione, make their way to the Gryffindor common room, where they meet with a great celebration, and Harry is persuaded to open his golden egg. When he does, a high-pitched wail comes from it, and everyone is confused as to what it could mean. Everyone is having a fantastic time, even Neville, who was momentarily turned into a giant canary by one of Fred and George's new creams. A few days later, Harry is helping Hagrid tend to some Scroots when they are approached by Rita Skeeter. Harry does his best to ignore her, but she wrangles a date for an interview with Hagrid about the blast-ended Scroots. After the first fun divination class in a long time since Harry and Ron are friends again, Hermione drags the two down to the kitchens, where amid a ton of house elves vying to give them treats and food, Dobby appears and tells the group that he and Winky are both working for Hogwarts. Dobby is pleased to announce that he is being paid for his work. Winky misses Mr. Crouch and gets insulted when asked how much she was being paid. Dobby, now free from the control of the Malfoys, is able to whisper to the group that his old family are bad, dark wizards. But Winky refuses to speak ill of Mr. Crouch, but does admit that Ludo Bagman is a bad wizard. The trio leave the kitchen, promising Dobby he can visit them whenever he likes, and Hermione is pleased because Dobby might just influence the other elves into wanting freedom themselves.
Alrighty, Luke, usually this is where we talk about new characters.
Yeah, I don't think we had any new characters this chapter. None that I saw, at least.
Other than actually talking to some house elves at Hogwarts.
Yeah,
in Hogwarts tea cozies, non-Winky and non-Dobby house elves.
Yes.
Other than that,
I meant to include that. I actually forgot about that, but none of them are actually named or like given more than collective Hogwarts house elfian. But that's okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But they're there. There were a random selection.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Did we go anywhere new?
Yes, we did. And even Harry was like, wow, I'd never been here before. But he was getting close to going into the kitchens, in the corridor leading up to it, the big stone corridor. He's like, wow, I've never been over here.
The great stone corridor.
The great stone corridor, Mushu. So yes, the Hogwarts kitchens and the corridor that leads to it. New location.
Excellent. Along with some magicabulary, we got some canary creams.
Yes, yep, 7 sickles a pop.
Quite ingenious, and I like that you molted immediately.
Right, yeah. Very, very sellable item there, I'd say.
I agree. I would like to give some to, I don't know, brothers? See, that's on my list of like excellent gifts for all of you. And then we also have the possible renaming of SPEW. It's possible that we could call it the House Elf Liberation Front, or HELF for short.
Help the Elf. I like that name. I think it's a off the cuff from Ron. Pretty good name.
Yeah. I mean, do you think he's been wondering about that? Like, he had it on his back pocket.
We're really calling this SPEW? Like, really? Like,
give it something else.
Like, give me like 2 minutes. How about this is way better?
Well, that, and I mean, we move it up from a society for the protection of elfish welfare. Yeah, I just remember that off the top of my head. I need bonus points.
The promotion.
So now we're liberating them. We're not just promoting them. Now we're actually like breaking them out of prison or something.
Yeah, break those chains.
All right, guess what?
What?
There's an illustration.
Remembered again.
I have my book open to it.
And you've been
all
on
ready
fire
to go.
This book.
I am 20 for 21.
Oh man, with the live stream, I can even show the folks at home. The kids at home can see this illustration on my Kindle there. Man. So what do we see there, Melissa?
So we have a ginormous still life of fruit, a variety of fruit, and some short people in front of it.
Yes.
tickling one of the pieces of fruit.
Yeah, you gotta tickle the pear.
Tickle the pear. Here's the deal, though. Like, I love the idea of tickling the pear. I love that the pear becomes a door handle. I feel like this pear is much too large to be first of all, it's at least a head taller than any of them. That doesn't seem like a very practical door handle.
Well, it pops out. The handle kind of appears from there. See if I can find that line real quick. Where that? Here we go. She seized his arm again, pulled him in front of the picture of the giant fruit bowl, stretched out her forefinger, and tickled the huge green pear. It began to squirm, chuckling, and suddenly turned into a large green door handle. So I'd imagine it's not necessarily the same size, but yeah, I mean, it'd be like a steering wheel almost for the size that it is. If it is in fact just protruding out the same size that it was.
Yeah, that's what I always pictured. And it's really high up there. Like, door handles should not be where I have to stretch my entire body up to reach, to be able to pull.
And in reverse from that, they shouldn't be too low. I know there was one point in one of my rooms growing up, we had put a new closet in the room, and the door came with the handle too low. Like, it was like just above your knee, and it was really awkward. And I just remember being really funny when Mom was like, "Yeah, be careful when you go in your room, Luke. Don't stub your toe on the door handle." Pretty good stuff. That's true.
Although for the kitchens, it is the house elves. So a low hanging door handle wouldn't be impractical for them?
Well, I think we'll have to revisit that once we know more about the house elves.
All right. So let's
play the transition music one more time now.
Yes. All right, Luke. Let's get into some of your notes. What'd you think about in this particular chapter?
There were a lot of interesting things with this chapter. I really liked the description of the Gryffindor common room party that they had. This is, I guess, still like right after Harry's success over the Hungarian Horntail last chapter. And so they're finally getting their party. And, you know, it's just funny that Ron's like, "Well, we better get downstairs for your surprise party, Harry. Fred and George should have nicked enough food from the kitchens by now." And then it goes through to describe all of the festivities that are going on with the flagons of pumpkin juice and mountains of cakes, and Lee Jordan with some filibuster fireworks, and Dean Thomas had done some cool drawings of all sorts of cool stuff. And I like when we get like these congratulatory things, and this one Harry actually wanted and earned, as opposed to the last one where he was like, "Literally, guys, I didn't put my name in the Goblet of Fire. Like, can we chill? Like, can we?" Like, I didn't do that.
But this time it's like, dude, I totally was able to get past a dragon, and I'm amazing.
Right. I'm okay with basking in this one a bit.
Yeah, I kind of earned this.
Gather around, friends. It's time to bask.
I played to my strengths, and I got what I needed.
Exactly. Thanks, Moody.
Yeah. Although I will say, like, I feel like Ron is overcompensating just a bit. Talking way too much, being way too positive. It's just, I'm so used to Ron, even getting along with Harry Ron, of just sort of being like the snark in the room. Mm-hmm. He's way too happy. Like, "Oh, we're going to be friends now, and I'm going to be the most positive person. It's going to be great." Okay, dial it back a little. I mean, will.
I see it. It didn't bother me any. I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
All right. But so can we talk about the egg?
Right before we get to the egg, one more thing with the party going on. Well, okay, sorry. This is with the egg. This is with the egg. You're right. Go ahead. Let's talk about the egg.
Okay. So everybody's like, "Open the egg, open the egg, open the egg." And Hermione's like, "He's supposed to work out the egg on his own." Mm-hmm. That's what she says. It's in the tournament rules. I want to fact check that a little bit. Is it in the rules? Okay, so in chapter 20, and I did research. I went back in my book and looked up things with page references and everything. In chapter 20, Ludo Bagman says, "You need to solve the clue inside the egg because it will tell you what the second task is and enable you to prepare for it." That's it. That's what they're saying. That's all the directions are given about the egg, right? Going further back, in chapter 17, the four champions, when they finally get the directions from Barty Crouch. Barty Crouch says, the champions are not permitted to ask for or accept help of any kind from their teachers to complete the tasks in the tournament.
Letter of the law. They have a whole student body they can ask.
It does not say they can't ask for help. It says they cannot ask for help from the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So technically, a room full of Gryffindors could totally help out. Like, it doesn't expressly forbid getting help. It expressly forbids getting help from faculty. Teachers. Okay, so like Filch could help or something.
Right. I was actually going to make a point that, so Hagrid could still help because he's not really much of a teacher anyway. I
mean, he's on the payroll.
I know.
As a teacher, he has to do grades, sort of.
Does he? Anyway.
I mean, he has to.
Right.
Does he?
He's got house elves helping him with that, I'm sure.
Oh.
So on the egg, it has this, awful screeching sound, and I just love that we get a reference back to the Ghost Oak Orchestra from Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day Party with the musical saws. They're back. The musical saws again.
Oh, the musical saws. They were so good. I mean,
yeah.
not at the Death Day Party.
But in real life, they're awesome.
I'm not even kidding.
I should have looked up the Twitter user that actually plays musical saws, and after our episode, they tweeted at us like, hey, I also do this, and it's, in my opinion, Luke, really freaking cool.
Yeah, I am literally going to drop the link to the Somewhere Over the Rainbow on a musical saw in the chat right now.
Heck yeah.
So we talked about this in book number 2, everybody. So if you want some amazing musical saw work, go ahead and check them out. They're pretty awesome. Now, I assume musical saws at a Death Day Party, not quite so good. And I don't think that's quite what JK was going with on her description there. But yeah, musical saws is pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. So it was just something I know you and I were super jazzed about whenever we found it. And they brought it back. I was so happy.
It's so awesome.
So happy.
Yay them.
Right. So then they start kind of guessing, what the task might be, and everyone's got, an idea. And I like that Neville was like, you know what? It sounded like someone being tortured. Maybe they're going to use the Cruciatus curse on you. And there was a reaction in there that I didn't really anticipate. Because George says, don't be a prat, Neville. That's illegal. They wouldn't use the Cruciatus curse on champions. Which leads me to really believe that only Harry's class got the Cruciatus curse put on them. And I don't think we can open this up too much right here, but I know we've had the questions of did this happen to the other classes? Is this a fourth years only thing?
Is it a fourth year Gryffindors only thing?
Right. The way George is phrasing this, it makes me think that his class didn't have that with Professor Moody. So I'll just leave that right there to ponder on.
Unless they say it as that was a controlled environment with a teacher as opposed to just within a task. But I agree with you. That is a really interesting comment of, well, do we or do we not use the Cruciatus curse? And does anybody know that it was used on students?
Good topic to maybe get into in our next 5-chap recap.
All right, everybody. 5-chap unrestricted section available on Patreon.
Available to public after a few days on Patreon as well.
That's true.
So check it out and see if you like it.
Then we hit time jump. We head into December, right?
Yeah, one very last thing. The night of the party, Harry goes to bed and he's feeling pretty good about himself, right? He had a pretty solid party, and he pulls out the little tiny dragon that he pulled out of the bag. The figurine, and it curls up on his nightstand. And he's just like, you know what? Hagrid was right. Dragons might be a pretty decent pet. And he has one. Harry literally has a dragon figurine that acts like a living pet. Because we know it can blow smoke, at least. So, I just thought that was interesting. Harry set the tiny model of the Hungarian horntail on the table next to his bed, where it yawned, curled up, and closed its eyes. Really? Harry thought as he pulled the hangings on his 4-poster closed. Hagrid had a point. They were all right, really. Dragons. So, there you go.
Are they, though? And is it really a dragon, or is it like a little toy animated dragon, much like the animated Victor Crumb?
I think it's the same thing as that, which I would assume is very similar magic to, like, the portraits and things.
Yeah, okay. You think
where
it's
it can
gonna,
have some personality to it.
Do you think it's going to burn down as, like...
Burning down the house.
Well, I was going to say bed hangings, but sure. Burning down the bed hangings. Curtains.
Doesn't flow quite as well. Well,
it doesn't, but it's way more flammable.
It's much more accurate, too. So I like it.
Okay. Burning down the curtains.
Okay, let's jump into December now.
So we're time jumping. It's December. It's cold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Harry spends a little bit of time concerned about the welfare of those people not living within the castle and the chill. But he notices that the Beauxbatons horses are well taken care of because Hagrid is doing a good job of providing their preferred drink of a single malt whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And that the fumes, I'm going to read this, the fumes wafting from the trough in the corner of their paddock was enough to make the entire Care of Magical Creatures class lightheaded. This was unhelpful as they were still tending to the horrible Scroots and needed their wits about them. Let's just talk about getting the contact high from the whiskey fumes. How much whiskey does it take to get a contact high when not even standing right next to it? Just like in the air in the general vicinity.
I can smell it wafting in the air tonight.
It's not a Lion King song.
It's Genesis.
Oh, see, I was going with it. I can smell a whiskey tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I went. Sorry.
I was going In the Air Tonight by Genesis.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And then second question, how close is the Beauxbaton carriage to Hagrid's house? That's like a whole other place my head just went.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I wonder if he's moved his hut any closer.
Or if there's a...
if he's like slowly shifting it over since he has control of the horses.
I was wondering if there's any more midnight strolls that we needed to hear about.
Maybe. There could be.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the Scroots get a little frisky when they're put in boxes.
Yeah.
I had Norbert flashbacks and the poor teddy bear.
Okay. Yeah. Fairly similar.
Yeah. Hagrid's got a big thing to do with shutting up his pets in wooden boxes. So
Hagrid, you live in a wooden house.
You have fire-breathing pets. Stop putting them in wooden crates. It's not going to work out for anybody.
What else is flammable? Wood. Wood is flammable.
And didn't it say, what did it say? That they were forced into pillow-lined boxes and nailed in.
Yep.
I feel like there are some questionable choices happening with the care being given to these creatures. I mean, it's a good experiment. I suppose you try with one, but, Scroot in a box is not a good idea.
Yeah, pillow-lined boxes. It sounds comfy, even though they clearly don't like them.
Clearly. So I would like to point out that I'm very glad to see that it wasn't just Harry, Ron, and Hermione staying to help Hagrid with the Scroots. Dean, Lavender, and Seamus all stayed too.
Yeah, that's good. Solidarity from the Gryffindors here, because all of the Slytherins bounced, right?
And Neville. And Neville. Pavarti.
Well, yeah. This isn't their strong subject.
All right. Did you know we had a Star Wars reference?
Did I miss it?
Yes.
Okay, what was it?
Rita Skeeter shows up. Right.
Okay, yeah, right.
Everybody's favorite reporter. She's so accurate and really good at fake news. And she's talking and she's like, oh, what are these? And Hagrid's like, oh, Blast and Scroots. Yeah, but, and says, Harry had a very bad feeling about this. And I got a very Han Solo feel right there.
I had a bad feeling about this.
It was like, ooh, that's accurate. You should.
Yeah. Another thing when Rita shows up that I found was interesting was Hagrid's line of, thought Dumbledore said you weren't allowed inside the school anymore.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah. But also, Dumbledore's banning her from the school, and not following up. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that, what is he looking at specifically to ban her from the school, other than, the awkward, hey, I'm going to take this 14-year-old into a closet, which is really questionable and awkward. In my book, that's enough.
I mean, she wrote that terrible article that completely messed up like the whole championship thing and forgot about Cedric and played up a story that obviously was untrue about Harry and spelled, wasn't it, Fleur's name wrong or something? Like, so again.
Oh, for bad reporting, she gets banned?
Isn't that what they do at the White House?
I don't know. I've never been to the White House.
Me neither. I don't plan on it in a while. But
Not
point
for a
being,
while.
she's been banned. But it says banned from the school, right?
Not necessarily the grounds.
Right. And technically, Hagrid teaches in grass, not in a school. He teaches outside. So, like, does that count?
The way she's reading it doesn't.
Yeah, that's weird.
But she does go on to... go ahead.
Hagrid specifically says, thought Dumbledore said you weren't allowed inside the school anymore.
Yep.
Technically, they're outside.
Right. Yes,
That's what I'm going to go with.
She's fitting that definition of disallowed, of banishment.
I think that sounds accurate.
And she does gloss right over it and distract him with the, Blaston and Scrooge's conversation as well, which, yeah, he's excited to talk about his stuff, right? I mean, it's his passion. She got him talking about his passion. As
you do.
As a good reporter does.
And Rita.
Like Rita also does.
No. Good reporters and Rita.
Right. She also
different groups. If I have my attribute circles, there's no crossover.
You're not saying there's a Venn diagram going on here?
There's not. It's the good ones and then her with a big empty space in between.
Itty bitty living space.
All right. Anything else on Hagrid and the Scroots and the Rita and the...
Nope. That's all I got.
So we do more things. And then Hermione comes to pull the boys out of the common room where they happen to be walking in. And then she says, let's go. Snarky fat lady comments. I'll just hang open here and wait for you. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. I like that little moment. It's like a nice little just nudge.
Yeah.
That she's annoyed with them. But, yeah, sure. No problem.
I think it is those little kinds of touches that always... Just again, like as you're reading it, makes you feel like it's a real place, right? I mean, it's just such a simple thing to give the castle itself so much character that when it gets involved at times, it's just like, oh wow, that's just what it should be. Like when a couple chapters ago, when the suits of armor were just chuckling at Ron and Neville and getting stuck in the stair, and it's just like. They're just nice little touches. And I know you're a big Peeves fan, so.
I am a big Peeves fan.
He was in this chapter, wasn't he?
Nope.
Or was that next chapter?
Yep.
Okay.
Hold off, man. I got a thing.
I figured I would have been let down if you didn't.
I got a thing. I got Peeves love, man. I love Peeves. Where's my note? Oh, I think I threw it away. Let me draw another picture. All right. And then we get to the kitchen. Guess who's back? Back again. Dobby's back. And my only thought really about Dobby being back is I wonder how our first time reader Riley is going to feel about this because he was like hardcore anti-Dobby in book 2.
Adamant about, wow, I'm glad he's not here anymore.
Yeah, right? Like it was his least favorite character in the whole book for book 2. There was no Dobby love in Riley and now he's back. I'm not going to tell him.
Oh yeah, I'll be excited to get his reaction on this one.
Yes, that'll be awesome.
I thought Dobby's clothes were quite interesting.
Yes. You want to go ahead and
He had done an even worse job of dressing himself than the Wizards at the World Cup. He was wearing a tea cozy for a hat on which he had pinned a number of bright badges, a tie patterned with horseshoes over a bare chest, a pair of what looked like children's soccer shorts, and odd socks. One of these Harry saw was the black one Harry had removed from his own foot and tricked Mr. Malfoy into giving Dobby, thereby setting Dobby free. The other was covered in pink and orange stripes.
What's the problem with this?
It sounds comfy to me.
I think it sounds great. I mean, soccer shorts, they're very comfy.
I like the horseshoe pattern tie with no shirt. Solid.
I mean, my son would say he's very fancy because he's wearing a tie.
Yeah, I mean, he can go anywhere. You're wearing a tie, you can go anywhere. That's the rule.
Yeah, that's true. Because, that's the dress code.
No shirt, no shoes, no problem. Unless you're wearing a tie, then it's all good.
It's a top covering.
Offsetting penalties. You're good.
I will say I feel like there was a bit of an inaccuracy, though, with Dobby. A little bit.
Okay.
Dobby says, let me find. Dobby has traveled the country for 2 whole years, sir, trying to find work. Dobby squeaks, but Dobby hasn't found work, sir, because Dobby wants paying now. Okay. Dobby was freed at the end of book 2, which was June of 1993. Currently, in this book, it is December of 1995. He has not traveled for 2 whole years. He's traveled for 18 months. Like, if it had said about 2 years, that's one thing. He said whole years. That's not whole. I teach fractions. That's not right.
Maybe elves have a different calendar. They're not on the Gregorian
stop
Julian.
justifying it. It's just wrong. Let it just stand there and be wrong in its wrongness. I got to find the math, and the math is wrong.
He's been traveling since 2 books ago. Is what it's meant.
I'm sure that's what it meant. However,
and even then, it's not 2 whole books.
No, it's a book and a half, which is how many years it has been.
Yeah.
Year and a half, people.
Yep. I know. I'm with you.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Good job,
Help
Melissa. We should write JK and let her know that this bothers you.
It doesn't bother me that much.
There are other ones I think bother me more. That's what I'll say about it. The inconsistencies.
And it's in this book.
Yeah.
We're just not there yet.
Just not there
Although
yet.
we'll get there. All right. We also meet another house elf.
Mm-hmm.
Winky's there, dressed much better.
Do you have that at hand?
I can.
Do it quickly.
It says,
unlike Dobby,
yes,
she had obviously not foraged for clothes. She was wearing a neat little skirt and blouse with matching blue hat, which had holes in it for her large ears. However, while every one of Dobby's strange collection of garments was so clean and well cared for that it looked brand new, Winky was plainly not taking care of her clothes at all. There were soup stains all down her blouse and a burn in her skirt.
Okay, so there's my question for you. Would you rather have an Elsa? Yeah. No,
just let it go,
because I don't
Elsa.
like cold. You can have an Elsa. You like cold. I don't
like that movie, though. We've talked
letting
about
that
this.
go.
There you go.
I don't remember, and I'm choosing not to remember it because I don't believe you. Okay. Would you choose to have a house elf who is a hot mess of clashing colors and patterns, but clean?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
There you go.
Okay.
Or somebody wearing a really nice, smart outfit that is disgusting.
Raggedy Ann?
Not worn down, but like Pigpen.
Okay. All right.
Pigpen. Cloud of dust and dirt, and yeah.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting dichotomy that they're going with because, they're fancier clothes, nice clothes, which I'm sure are the ones that Mr. Crouch bought for her because he would get nice things. You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. That's Mr. Crouch in those commercials. But, Dobby is so passionate about his freedom. It just shows in their clothes that, their own viewpoints on the conditions that they find themselves in. And I think that's a really, really neat thing that she does here, that JK does here. It's real straightforward, and you can just look at him and know which one's happy and bold and bright and which one's not enjoying themselves very much. And I like that.
Yeah, I do too. There's just a lot of differences, if you will, between Winky and Dobby. Dobby saying, I want to be paid. And Winky being very offended at the idea of receiving a salary, that's so far below what she does, that is not okay. And even
she's offended by it.
Yeah, very offended. And so that's just another point that I noticed them having very opposite viewpoints, even though they're in very similar places.
Right. I like that, whenever Dobby found out that Winky was also free, that he basically went and kind of saved her, probably, because she was probably wallowing in her, self-pity somewhere. And he went and got her and at least brought her here to take care of her, at least, and it's just good on him. He didn't have to do that. I mean,
no,
but nice job, Dob.
Dobby is a good elf.
Nice job, Dob.
I'm so proud of you for rhyming.
When a 4-year-old's in your house, you just figure it out.
Excellent. I will say something about Dobby that Harry's trying to work the good out of him, if you will, is that Harry was really encouraging Dobby to practice, getting out of the habit of having to defend his masters. Did you notice that?
Yeah, definitely.
That he was like, oh, you should practice. What is the line? Let me see. Here it goes. But you can say what you like about the Malfoys now? Harry asked him, grinning. Like, oh, let's say something bad about the Malfoys. Let's see what dirt we can get on them.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing that Winky gets kind of offended by is like how can you like want to say bad things about your masters? And that's where Dobby's like, they're not my masters anymore. That's why, and they're awful. Like they're bad people. Like they're no good, gosh darn bad people.
It's like Alexander's Day, only all the time.
Exactly.
Except Harry wants to know what is it? What are those bad things? What information can we hear to help you? Of course. I can just see like him thinking that. I just thought that was kind of a funny twist on something that I'd never thought of before.
Oh, really? That one's always it's one of those that's always stuck out to me of like
really
him trying to get him to talk about the Malfoys because one, he can get a little scoop on them, and two, it's he wants to promote the elvish welfare and talking bad about his old abusive masters, I think would be a good release. And we're working through some things here.
All right. So I have one more thought.
Mm-hmm.
I really have to agree with Ron and his sentiment at the end of the chapter. So the twins getting food from the kitchens is not that big of a deal. Like they're just shoving food kind of down their throats and in their pockets and in their hands and in any other places they can find to store food. Mm-hmm. Why don't more kids go do that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of surprising that not more people know about it, I guess. But it's kind of one of those secrets that typically you want to keep. You know, you want to be the one that has the in. The twins, this is a skill set that they have that it's better if it's secret, and it makes them look better if not everyone has the same access.
I have a very specific skill set.
Particular set of skills. And it's usually bad news for hungry kids like you.
That's right. All right. Any other thoughts from you there, Lucifer?
Yeah, one last note I had was the description of the kind of replica Hogwarts tables down below the house tables in the Great Hall. Like, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that we didn't know how it worked before, that they just get there and food shows up, right? And it seems like there's some kind of transportation spell that you put it down on this plate and it transfers up to the other one just the same. I just think that's kind of a neat way to kind of pull back the veil a bit on how certain things work. And it's just a neat thing to have in there.
It makes it a little less magical, but it's using magic.
It's a little less whimsical
or mystical.
Yeah,
like it takes the mystery piece out of it. Even though there's still magic, it's not as mysterious, which makes it seem less fantastic.
Yes, it's a little more practical, which it's like stuff you can actually like put your hands on, of like starting to understand how certain branches of magic work. So I am always here for that conversation.
Yes.
All right, transition music.
Go. All right, Luke, we're going to jump to your favorite section of the whole show. Ready?
I am.
You have 5 burning questions.
All right.
Go for it.
Let's do it. So, first burning question for you. Where did the Scroots come from?
They come from the water. They come from the water. I mean, they're lobsterish and crustacean-like and creepy. I don't really know how useful they're going to be with their fire-breathing powers underwater, but maybe it's jet propulsion. I don't know. I'm going with water.
Blast-ended Scroots. That sounds like a really solid form of transportation underwater.
Right.
And it's very directional. They're quite vector, if you will. They have magnitude and direction.
Yeah.
Question.
What do you think?
What?
Did you have an idea about where they come from?
I think it's really interesting that Harry is like, it's probably not a good thing that Rita Skeeter's asking about where they came from, because it's very likely from like illegal or like illicit means, and hopefully he didn't like breed them himself, because like this isn't like in the book, and we're figuring this out as we go.
It's a little sketchy.
Right, it's certainly sketch for sure.
It's fine.
It's Hagrid. He's lovable.
But he's so huggable. He
What-
means well.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking dragons in boxes with teddy bears. Okay, moving on.
Question 2. How many times has Trelawney predicted Harry's death?
Well, it says specifically, in a moment I will tell you. It'd be a bit more impressive if she hadn't done it about 80 times before, Harry said, as they finally regained the fresh air of the staircase beneath Professor Trelawney's room. But if I dropped dead every time she told me I'm going to, I'd be a medical miracle. So at least 80, but I mean, that could be kid exaggerating. Like, I think it's been, at least that we've seen, at least 15, 16 times. Like, I would have to go back through books 3 and 4 and see all the times but it is an exorbitant amount of times that she has predicted this boy's death. She gets way too much pleasure out of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's funny that he says, if I dropped dead every time, I'd be a medical miracle. Yeah, you'd literally just be a zombie 80 times over. Like,
right.
It's not medical.
Well,
it's
Ron's follow-up line is, you'd be a sort of extra concentrated ghost.
That's right. Yeah. And isn't like the Bloody Baron going by right then as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Question 3. Would you like to call Dumbledore a barmy old codger?
To his face or behind his back? Because sometimes behind his back, yes. But to his face, no, I am non-confrontational and that would scare me.
I mean, he literally, I guess if you were Dobby, which is hard to, you don't want to.
I mean, you have permission.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was his call. I mean, at that point, take the shot. Become like the Weasley twins and get on the good rapport with Albus Dumbledore.
Oh, the Weasley twins would do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They'd be like, hey, Professor Codger.
Right? I don't know what barmy means, but I'm going to call you barmy.
What's up, Barmy? How you doing? Shouted across the Great Hall. What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they would do it. I don't know. I would be too scared.
I believe in you.
You?
If you, sure, why not? If he gave permission, might as well. Not make a habit
You have
out
confidence.
of it.
And you people, I don't do those things.
Question 4. Are Dobby and Winky exempt from the Hogwarts elf uniform?
Okay, so I really pondered this one because it says all the other elves were wearing the same uniform, a tea towel stamped with the Hogwarts crest and tied, as Winky's had been, in like a toga, right? And we discussed the clothing of Dobby and Winky. So if you're working there, do you have to wear the uniform? Or is it that Dumbledore's like, no, I don't care. Like, wear what you want because you're free. And, I don't know. I feel like they probably
like,
could
no,
if they chose, but they don't have to.
I feel like they have to because that's part. I feel like Dobby and Winky definitely don't have to because they are free elves. They are not owned by the school.
That's what I like, but they could if they wanted to, like when they were working.
Sure, they could. I believe that they could if they wanted to. I'm a little surprised
because they have their choice.
Right. They have the freedom to do so.
Okay, but they don't have to.
They don't have to.
So I wonder, why wouldn't other elves be able to wear clothes as long as their masters didn't give it to them? They don't have money to buy the clothes. Dobby's going to start, can Dobby give clothes to other elves? And since that doesn't come from a master, does that count?
Say that one more time for me.
Okay, Dobby makes money.
Yes.
Could Dobby, theoretically, go buy clothes, elf-sized clothes, for the other elves to wear, which would not, in essence, set them free, being not their master, but allow them to wear something other than a tea towel?
I don't think so. It has to come from the headmaster, is what I would think.
Okay.
Which is why Harry couldn't just give Dobby the sock in book 2. He had to have
it had to come
Lucius
from Mr. Malfoy.
give him the sock.
Okay.
So that's how I feel about it, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
Question number 5. Why would Winky be calling Ludo Bagman a bad wizard? A very bad wizard.
Because he's a very bad and never helps clean up and never brings anything to share and is rude and is not very nice to Mr. Crouch. I don't know.
Okay. So it's just because
she's Team Crouch all the way.
Yeah. That makes sense.
What do you think?
I mean, it seemed like there may have been something more to it, but I mean, I think it's probably right that her very limited viewpoint is purely from Crouch's perspective. And so even if it's just like silly stuff, like kind of what the kids say. They basically say, well, it's probably just because he doesn't really respect him as, the department chair, and so I'm sure he's bad mouthing him at home, and she doesn't have a good impression of him via Crouch. So I think that's pretty fair.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and jump into your chapter superlatives. Luke, what was your favorite line?
Oh, don't mind me, the fat lady called irritably after them. Don't apologize for bothering me. I'll just hang here wide open until you get back, shall I? Yeah, thanks, Ron shouted over his shoulder. It's so good on both sides. There were a lot of good lines in this chapter, but that one just makes me chuckle, and I like to chuckle.
Excellent. I had 3.
All right, what were your runners up?
Okay, so the second runner-up is, going to try and lead the house elves out on strike now, are you? Said George. Going to give up all the leaflet stuff and try to stir them up into a rebellion? So I like that George was kind of calling her out on some of the crazy elf stuff she's had going on. Like, what are you going to do now with these guys, right?
And
so I like that one.
Almost exactly right. I mean, at least pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what she's like, how do you get into the kitchens? Really? Like, back off. But my second favorite line is from Dobby, and it's all about his negotiation tactics.
Right.
Professor Dumbledore offered Dobby 10 galleons a week and weekends off, said Dobby, suddenly giving a little shiver, as though the prospect of so much leisure and riches were frightening. But Dobby beat him down, miss. Dobby likes his freedom, miss, but he isn't wanting too much, miss. He likes work better. He beat him down to a galleon a week and 1 day a week off.
Oh,
I think it was.
Can't have too much.
That's plenty.
And I find that line very interesting too, because he's still fundamentally like a lot of the same things that all of the other house elves are. Like, he fundamentally still likes to work, and so it just kind of keeps playing into the overall perspective that like everyone else has, because even Dobby, who's like the biggest cheerleader for like elf freedom, right, is still like, whoa, like, hold on a little bit, like, don't do too much here.
Right. Like, we're good. I don't want to stretch it too much. So I just want a little bit of money to buy a hat. Like, right. I'm not looking for, my own house and a job working in an office.
You think he goes anywhere on his day off, or does he just hang out in the castle?
It's a really good question.
I know. That's why I asked it. Thanks, Jon Snow. I know it's a good question. I'm looking for an answer.
Wait, that was the show we did earlier.
That's very, very timely.
I'm going to go with he goes shopping. Mm-hmm. That's what he does on his days off.
I'll buy it. So what was your favorite line?
My actual favorite line was this. Percy wouldn't recognize a joke if it danced naked in front of him wearing Dobby's tea cozy. That was a true statement.
Yeah, I think so. He's tried making jokes here and there. They're very bad.
Yeah, he doesn't recognize it, though.
You don't think he realizes when the twins are making jokes on him?
I think he probably making jokes on him, even if they're not, which they probably are. So maybe he does. I don't know. But I thought that line was
either way
very apt.
It's a good line. It's a good line.
Yes. All right. So who was your chapter MVP?
I had a little trouble with this one, but for a character we've had, difficulty with, but maybe a little bit of gripes here over the past couple chapters, and she's done amazing things too. Like, it's just like very slight, like, okay, you need to take a different angle at what you're doing,
particularly in terms of the elf stuff.
Right. So I'm giving my chapter MVP to Hermione for doing exactly what we've been like, man, like, your heart's in the right place. You probably need to like actually talk to an elf, like, at all. So good on her for getting the information that she needed to, and had a good positive attitude towards going down and actually getting to know them, and not doing, like, we were joking that, what was it, George, that was like, what are you gonna do, go and just free him? And even Ron calling it the House of Liberation Front. It's not just, I'm going in there to try to create this,
strike atmosphere.
Spartacus, we're getting the gladiators and making a run for it. So I like the angle that she's taken here.
Okay. So my honorable mention was Dobby. I think he does an excellent job of like welcoming them to the kitchen, of giving us his backstory for the last year and a half. and even just helping to explain or give us an insight of, yes, he likes money, and yes, he likes wearing clothes, but at the end of the day, he's still just a house elf who wants a good job, who wants, he wants to do his job as a house elf, but just make a little money off of it.
Yeah, good on him. He's doing it right. He's finding a good balance that suits him.
Yes. And that finishes up chapter 21. Feel free to find us on Twitter at Not Named Podcast. You can send us your digital owls at the podcast at notnamedpodcast@gmail.com. Find this show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com.
Subscribe, like, rate, leave comments on iTunes and here on YouTube in the live chat or after the video is done. We hope to see everyone again for live stream chats. If you're in this one tonight, we are doing another chapter, so stay tuned. Podcast listeners, you'll have to join us again for chapter 23 and probably 24 as well. And that'll be 2 weeks from today, which is the 25th of February of 2019.
Truth.
So we hope to see you guys there, and listen to this Not Named podcast on Radio Public. It's free, easy to use, and helps listeners like you find and support shows like ours. When you listen to our show on Radio Public's Android or iOS app, everyone benefits.
Join us next time when we discuss chapter number 22.
The Unexpected Task. Stay imaginary.
Thanks.